First, let's take a look at the Control Center interface. What we're looking at now is the status map for all of the firewalls being managed in our demo environment. You can see the different status indicators showing green for OK, orange for a warning, and red for a failure event. From here, we can click to go into an individual firewall and observe the traffic flowing through it. What we're looking at now is called Firewall Live. This window shows all the traffic passing through the firewall in real time. We have it sorted by bits sec, so we can see the top bandwidth streams traversing the firewall. If there were to be a stream here that was taking up too much bandwidth on the network and preventing business-critical traffic from getting through, such as video streaming or P2P file sharing, there are several things we can do. First, if we right-click on the stream, we can terminate the session immediately, if necessary. Another option is to adjust the quality of service to choke so that traffic stream is no longer getting high priority and more important traffic can get through. Both of these are effective methods to immediately remediate a customer issue and get them back to passing their business-critical traffic. Next, let's take a look at the Firewall History window. This window shows all of the traffic that has passed through the firewall over time. Right now, we have it sorted by timestamp, so we can see when each stream happened, but we can search and sort on numerous other categories depending upon what information is needed. Another great feature of the Firewall History is that it can be exported for archiving compliance requirements or to another SIEM if necessary. Now let's take a look at the Monitoring tab. This is a great window for giving end users access so that it can have a quick look at everything going on in the firewall without giving them access to anything that could create security vulnerabilities. Each of the windows can be moved around, added or removed to display information in order of relevance to the user. Also, clicking on individual items allows users to drill down on specific attributes and see the related information. Now let's take a look at the Configuration tab on the individual firewall. The firewall itself is built out into three layers. The box layer, which is the metal and plastic, has a virtual server layer built on top of it, and the services layer is built on top of the virtual server. A similar design occurs in smartphones with the phone as the box layer, the operating system as the virtual server layer, and the applications as the services layer. This design was also done for high availability so that a single virtual server can overlay multiple boxes. If one of the boxes were to fail, the services would see no interruption because they only see the virtual server and not the box layer. Now if you check back to the Configuration tab on the Control Center, we can see that same firewall with all the same options and features. This is a very nice feature because once you become comfortable configuring an individual firewall, those same features and options can be configured in the same manner through the Control Center. With the Control Center, you're able to centrally manage and configure all of your individual firewalls through a single pane of glass. Now, configuring each firewall individually through this single pane of glass is great, but the real advantage of using the Control Center is the range repository. The range repository is a set of templates for anything that can be configured in the firewall. You can have range repositories for any of the available firewall configurations, and you can have as many as you want. For example, say you have a client bound by HIPAA regulation, and one of those regulations states you need to go ahead change your password every 90 days. So with a traditional firewall, that would mean you're logging into the firewall, changing the password, logging into the next one, and changing its password, and so on, and so forth. Not necessarily difficult work, but very time consuming. With the firewall managed by Control Center, doing this is significantly easier. So what we've gone ahead and done is created a range repository template named HIPAA-admin. After we open it up, we see the option where we would change the password. Once that is done, we close the page, then right-click on HIPAA-admin and select Multiple Object Action. From here, we can use Control-click to select whichever firewalls we want to update and click Go. Or, if we want to, we can hit Control-A and select all the firewalls and click Go to update all the firewalls at once. This is an incredibly powerful and time-saving feature of the Control Center. Now let's move on to the VPN capabilities of the firewall. What we're looking at now is the Firewall GTI, or Graphical Tunnel Interface Editor. Say for example you need to create a VPN mesh for a client with multiple client locations. What you can do is just hold Control and click the different sites that need to be connected in the mesh. From there, you simply drag them to the bottom of the screen and the full mesh for all those sites is created. If you click on any of the tunnel links, you can then see all of the tunnel properties displayed. If you decided you don't actually need links, you can simply click on them and hit the X icon to delete it. If you find out later that you actually do need that link, you can simply click one of the firewalls and drag a link to another, and the tunnel between them is automatically created. If later on the customer needs to add another site to the mesh, you can simply select it from the top, drag it to the below mesh, and the mesh is updated. If a site needs to be removed, you can simply right-click on the site to remove it from the group, and then select Yes to delete all the associated tunnels for that site. This is a very powerful technology, allowing for very easy management of site-to-site VPN connections, and there are a couple of reasons Barracuda is able to do this. First, the Control Center and Firewall were developed at the same time, so they integrate very closely, with the Control Center understanding all the relevant Firewall VPN settings. The second reason is because Barracuda developed a proprietary VPN protocol called TINA, which is based off of IPsec, but a little more robust and a little less resource intensive. So we can build these tunnels dynamically. We can definitely interoperate with other vendors using the standard IPsec protocol, but using TINA tunnels when managing Barracuda devices with the Control Center makes everything much easier and less prone to error.